Good day and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the Voice of Reason. So, in today's episode of the ongoing coverage of the civil war that is taking place in Ethiopia and the intense military operations that are taking place inside of the Tigray region by the Tigrayan Defense Forces Army, again, fighting continues, and it would appear that the Tigrayan Defense Forces have a tremendous victory on their hands in terms of the battles that have taken place over the last 5 days, and the amount of prisoners of war, the collapsing of several or multiple Ethiopian divisions that appear to have capitulated or were captured in their retreat from Adigrat South. But by no means is the war over. And unfortunately, for the people of Tigray and the Tigrayan Defense Forces, the Ethiopian army and its Amhara militias have a tremendous pool of manpower. They also have the ability to produce certain amounts of military equipment, which the Tigray region does not currently possess. So, if we look back onto history, a battle does not mean you have won the war. Could a battle lead to eventual victory and cause a collapse of the opposition that you are facing? Yes, absolutely. But I would say now is not the time to celebrate and and believe that you have in fact won the war, because that is simply not the case as of yet. The the Ethiopians, the Amhara militias, the Prosperity Party, Abiy Ahmed, are going to look to reconstitute their forces outside of a peace agreement, which right now neither side is really talking. We can presume that the Amhara militias, the Ethiopian army, until there is a power shift and a new regime were to take over through some sort of political change or coup d'etat, the present status is one of conflict, unfortunately. And the Ethiopian state and these Amhara militias have very large pools of manpower that they can pull from and attempt to reconstitute many of these lost forces. Now, some of the heavy equipment that was lost, that may be a challenge on the open market and take months to purchase new systems. But in terms of fielding vast sums of light infantry units equipped with small arms and ammunition, that is not an issue for the Ethiopian state. They can do that. They have production factories to produce AK-47 variant rifles and even lighter arms and so forth. But right now, it would appear that the Ethiopian army, the Amhara militia, the state of Eritrea, is now taken upon itself to launch punitive airstrikes against targets inside of the Tigray region. Specifically, they appear to be targeting areas around Mekelle, towns around Mekelle, where the Tigrayan Defense Forces have positioned themselves for a possible move on Mekelle. We can report that, for instance, this town, for instance, has come under tremendous heavy attack by the Ethiopian Air Force. And it would appear that other towns in the region have also come under the attack of Ethiopian Air Force. And these attacks do not appear to be targeted against actual military units, but unfortunately it's against the people of Tigray. The ability of the Ethiopian army to conduct precision ground strikes is not great, and they use a lot of free fall dumb bombs, as we would call them. And unfortunately, the civilian population takes the brunt of these attacks, outside of catching a convoy on the road that the pilots can physically see. But the fighting continues, and we would suspect again that the Ethiopian army is going to attempt to reconstitute itself. I would say that we're looking at a minimum of about 3 months for the Ethiopian army and the Amhara militias to start to reconstitute themselves, refit, and be prepared to launch further operations into the Tigray region. The TDF also has to look at what it is going to do with the large amounts of prisoners of war that have been taken by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. So the TDF has thousands of Ethiopian prisoners of war. And I would assume that if the TDF were to parole these soldiers and send them back to Ethiopia, they would probably be filtered right back into the war machine and be used against the TDF. So I think the TDF really needs to look at some sort of detention camp or some way to hold these soldiers. And I think that's going to come with the seizure of more territory that can be taken. But to simply to send these soldiers back to Ethiopia, where obviously they would be reintroduced to service in the army, would actually take place. I wonder, in terms of the Ethiopian Air Force pilot that was captured and then released, is he back to bombing targets inside of the Tigray region? And that's something we simply don't know and probably will not know. But again, the fighting continues. We know that the TDF is operating now inside of the Amhara region, and continue to look to renew their offensive. And again, this is not the time, I would say, for the TDF to celebrate. Is it a victory in terms of an operational victory over the last few days? Yes, absolutely. Probably more of a success than the TDF command could have hoped for. But at the same time, the Ethiopian army, the Amhara militias, are going to reconstitute. They are going to look to re-enter the Tigray region, quite possibly with renewed vigor and force. And this is by no means over with yet. So both sides obviously are going to prepare and continue for further operations. And again, we will keep an eye on the situation, on what is going on inside of the Tigray region. We have not forgotten about the OLA and the operations that are currently ongoing inside of Oromia. Those operations are continuing and are helping to facilitate, actually, some of the victories that is taking place inside of the Tigray region by the TDF. Some of the best Ethiopian units had to have been transferred in order to fight the recent successes of the OLA. And the OLA continues to be active and will continue to harass and degrade the forces of Ethiopia. And I believe we have also seen Eritrean units that have also been transferred to help fight the OLA, and that's probably why we are not right now seeing a vigorous offensive by the Eritrean army in its northern power base in northern Tigray, because some of its best units have, in fact, in terms of special forces units, and these elite light infantry formations have been transferred and are being used along with some leadership assets to the Oromia region to help fight the OLA. And we assume that will continue. But in terms of the status update, there continues to be fighting near the town of Sokotra, with the TDF operating in these hilly badlands, if you would call them. But the TDF at this point, I believe, cannot rest on its laurels and relax and take time off. This is now the time to press and look to secure further victories or bring the Ethiopian army to the negotiating table and the Amhara militias to the negotiating table. If these forces are allowed to reconstitute, look for a longer conflict. Have a great day, everybody.